Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining and welcome back to Wall Street Silver. Our guest today is my very good friend, Adrian Day, the founder of Adrian Day Asset Management. Adrian, welcome back, sir.
Thank you for having me, Ivan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's such a great pleasure having you come down to Wall Street Silver. I wanted to get you on to talk about everything that's happening in the precious metals market, all the craziness in the world. First, let's start off with gold. Gold is a lot of people online are saying, "Oh, they thought the pullback or would be a lot greater than what it was after Trump got into office or Trump got elected, sorry." So what do you think is happening for gold for now into the next month or two? What's your outlook?
Yeah, look, I mean, the truth is, I think we know the reasons. We can talk about them if you want, but we know the reasons why gold went down after the election. But look, the truth is, if you think that we've had since the bottom, gold has gone up 72% from bottom to high over 2 years. And in that context, a pullback from the high, which was before Trump was elected, from the high to the low was only 8%.
Yeah.
And it only took us back 5 weeks. That's not much of a correction. And so I was certainly thinking that we would have a bigger correction. I said last week, not that I would be happy with a bigger correction, but I would be a lot more comfortable with a deeper and longer correction. And I'm not talking about 1,806 months. If we get to 2,500 and stay there for a few weeks, that would just make me a little more comfortable. What we've seen so far is really not much of a correction.
No.
Now, the fact that gold bounced back until today, of course, but the fact that it bounced back really so dramatically from
Right.
that just tells me that there's a lot of buying on the sidelines.
Y-
And so I don't think we're going to have a deep correction at all. But I
And
do think there's a little more to go.
and a lot of people are talking about, not only are we going to see a lot of people were expecting a bigger correction in gold and silver. Is it surprising to you that it held off or it stayed at that level? Like, is that concerning to you that it didn't do a bigger correction, or what do you
Well,
think?
as I say, I would feel a lot more comfortable. I didn't necessarily make a prediction on where it would go. I would just feel a lot more comfortable after a 72% move
Hmm.
with hardly a correction or pullback in 2 years. I would just feel a little more comfortable if we'd have had a deeper, longer correction. Um, but the market will do what it's going to do, and so our job is just to try to look at the risk for reward. And for people that are fully invested, I don't think they need to mortgage their homes to jump in.
No.
For people who are new to the space, I think you take advantage of what we have.
There's about $15 trillion worth of physical gold in the world sitting there costing money rather than being used is just absolutely insane. Monetary Metals is bringing gold back into the financial world, putting gold to productive use right now. The problem with gold, of course, in physical form is that it's heavy, it's cumbersome, it's not particularly easy to ship, and it costs money to store in a protected manner. This platform Monetary Metals created is a proven concept and allows gold to be put to productive use. So instead of sitting there costing you money, it's actually in use earning you money.
Learn how you can earn 2 to 5% in our leasing program and how accredited investors can earn up to 12% on silver paid in silver. This advertisement is not investment or financial advice. Minimum investment applies.
Without necessarily going all in. But I don't expect a deep, I mean, there's a lot of things that have happened to cause gold to pull back today. There's the nomination of Steve Bessent as the Treasury Secretary, and he's regarded quite widely as someone who will, push through the tax cuts. He's in support of the Doge program of Elon Musk and the
Right.
Dick Swami.
Right.
And so these are things that are negative for gold, and
Right.
he's considered to be competent. So that's negative for gold. Obviously, the news that Israel may be moving towards a ceasefire, that's negative for gold. I'm not sure how much of that is in the price,
Right.
but certainly war in the Middle East is, shall we say, a positive for gold. I don't think it's by any means the main driver, but it's, if you like, a positive. So a ceasefire would be a negative.
Hmm.
And so these two things coming at the same time, particularly after you've had such a strong pullback, a recovery, such a strong recovery, leads the gold price to come down. But the gold stocks are still remarkably cheap. That's something that we continue to focus on. And
Why do you
especially if you get to the end of a year, you've got some tax loss selling in some of the stocks. I mean, pretty much this year, junior gold stocks are about the only thing people have tax losses in. Oh, we
why
don't
do you
even have
why
tax losses in Bitcoin this year.
I
Um,
read something too, Adrian. Since the US was founded, since the beginning of its conception, it added 19 trillion from all the way up into 2019. From US starting to 2019, it had 19 trillion in debt. That's what it added. But since 2019, or sorry, and since in the past 10 years, we've added 19 trillion in debt alone. What does that tell you that, since the beginning of America starting, for hundreds of years, we didn't add 19 trillion, but just in the past 9, 10 years, we've added 19 trillion. Well,
yeah, well,
yeah,
and just in the last several weeks, it's added one more trillion.
that's
I
crazy.
think it shows two things. One is that these things compound on each other. Debt is, it's in my DNA to hate and detest debt. Debt
Yeah.
just builds on itself because you have interest payments on debt. And so your cash flow is going, more and more of your cash flow as debt goes on, more and more of your cash flow simply goes to service debt. You're
Yeah.
not moving ahead, you're not reducing debt. It's just servicing the existing debt you have. And meanwhile, the debt just continues to compound. That's one issue. And I think the other issue is that, each president has come in and, we can go back to Johnson with his, so-called war on poverty and the Vietnam War ramp up. But even just more recently than that, each new program, each new giant step that we take in accumulating more debt and more spending and more debt, it is accepted as the new baseline.
Right.
So the new guy comes in and wants to spend on, handing out money to people who aren't working, and the next guy comes in and wants to, build up the military, and the next guy comes in and wants to, do a so-called Inflation Reduction Act. It's so Orwellian the way that in the US they love to name these acts with the complete opposite of what they do.
Yeah.
The Bank Secrecy Act that required everybody to report their holdings, and report their transactions over $5,000 was called the Bank Secrecy Act.
It doesn't sound so
And
secret.
yeah, and similarly, the Inflation Reduction Act is completely the opposite of that. You might want to defend it. I wouldn't. You might want to defend it on various grounds, but it ain't reducing inflation.
Do you think that they just do that for the mass public? They're like, oh, the mass majority of Americans don't know how money works, so just call it Inflation Reduction Act, and then the mass public who don't look into it will just say, oh, they're reducing inflation.
I think so,
Yeah.
absolutely. But without getting too political, there were several lessons from Trump's election victory. But I think one big lesson is that the public recognizes that the emperor has no clothes. I
Right.
think the public finally is seeing through all this stuff. And they're seeing through it because it was hammered down their throats, to such an extreme degree And I don't think they accept it anymore. That's true of the inflation. You and I know, and even Jerome Powell admits, but you and I both know that the CPI, the cost of living numbers may have come down. Let's just go along with the government numbers, which of course aren't realistic.
Right.
Let's just go along. We're now at 2.7, 2.8%. That's for people who don't eat, by the way, and don't use any energy. That's the CPI ex food and energy. But
Right.
but even at but that 2.7% is added on to the 4% last year and the 8% the year before. And so even by the government's own numbers, the cost of living is up 22% in the last 4 years.
And your
And
dollars,
so,
your dollars are being devalued and
yeah,
depreciated.
and most people's wages have not gone up by the same amount.
No.
And so when the government says, oh, inflation's under control and the economy is really strong, people are saying that's not true.
Yeah, it's true. Nobody believes it. Nobody, like, if
No,
you could see in Canada here, it is absolutely crazy. Like even at my work or even at the gym, I just hear people talking about why is everything more expensive? Why is groceries more expensive? But they don't know why. They just say why.
right.
They don't know why printing money. They don't even know that printing money is going to cause more inflation or more depreciation or more dilution or more debt. They don't know why.
Well, that's right. And they talk about the Ukraine war and the Russian sanctions and the supply chain issues after COVID and so on. These things do not cause the aggregate cost of living to go up.
Right.
They can distort prices of one thing over another. But the only thing that makes the aggregate prices go up is if you print more money.
Right.
So if you print more money, then that money goes into the prices of goods and services, which rise. But if you don't print any more money and you have sanctions on Russian oil, then, and of course, that oil, oil's fungible. So that's not a good example because that gets into the world market anyway. But, if you have supply chain issues, with, let's say, widgets, and the price of widgets shoots up, if you haven't increased the money supply, then the price of something else has to go down to offset it. So apples
Ah,
might go up, but eggs go down, or eggs go up, but apples go down. You
right.
only get the aggregate increase if you increase the supply of money.
And that's been happening for every president. They just keep printing more money, no matter who it is. It just keeps going.
Sure, absolutely, and it's just going on a exponential move. It's just accelerating on itself.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely crazy. Adrian, it's such a great pleasure as always having you come down to Wall Street. So where can people connect with you? I'll put the links in the description below. Where can they connect with you?
Yeah, it's adrianday.com is the best place. Yeah.
Perfect. I highly recommend everyone watching. Please go check out adrianday.com. It's in the link in the description below. For everyone watching, thank you so much. Please hit the like and subscribe button. And Adrian, such a huge pleasure as always. You coming
No,
down.
thank you so much. Always
Oh,
good.
thank you. Awesome. Talk to you soon, sir.
Thank you.